Welcome to another episode, Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always by Kevin Ducey. Kev, what's up, man?
Hey, not much, Ryan. Obviously, coming a little disappointing start to the season, right? Especially for this guy who predicted 2 losses for the season. It doesn't look so hot right now. But I think there were some real encouraging things on Saturday. I think there were some discouraging things as well, and we can get into all that. But he played a really good football team. We needed to be mistake free. I think we needed to pull some rabbits out of our hat, and we didn't. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's right. So obviously a lot to digest in this. We're going to do the name of the title, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But matter of factly, to start, Illinois loses 30-13 to Penn State, which honestly, though, really is it was a lot closer than that. Sometimes the score doesn't always indicate what the game was for, 80% of the game. I mean, it was a one-score game for quite a bit of it, and then it was turned up to 9 right before half, and Illinois had their chances to, get it down to 2. They're driving, and then another interception, and the big key and theme for this game was turnovers. Illinois had 5 turnovers, and you're not going to beat the 100th ranked team, let alone the 7th ranked team, if you turn the ball over 5 times. And Illinois still was, even late stages of that third quarter, after having 4 turnovers, they were still only down 9,
Yeah.
Courageous effort from the defense, Kevin. I mean, I think, if anything, as we get towards the good, we're just mentioning all of it right now. I was happy to see the defense that looked a whole lot like last year's defense showed up for majority of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like the defense, similar to the defense that we saw last year for a lot of the game. And some things I think some fans need, we need to think about is that Pitt State has a FBS leading 10 straight games now with 30 points or more, as they got 30 against us. It's rather unfortunate that we've given up 28, 34, 30 in our 3 games. But when you turn the ball over 5 times, when you turn the ball over multiple times inside your own end, that's good. Illinois the offense probably attributed at least 10, if not 14 of those points. So I thought the defense was amazing on Saturday, to be frank. I think Drew Aller came in completing almost 80% of his passes. I think he was sub 50 for the game. Penn State helped. 11 had a couple drops, which obviously helped us. I don't think that Katron Allen, good back. Singleton's a good back. They made a couple nice plays, good ball players. But we really kind of held them and limited the big explosive plays. I thought our linebackers were much better in coverage. I think Seth Coleman really played a better game than we've seen him all year. And most notably, I was sharing this in a text thread with some friends. The best player on the football field on Saturday was Johnny Newton, and I don't think it's close. Ola Fanashwanu or whatever, big 74 left tackle for Penn State, really good football player. I thought, Alex Bryant got a hold on him, a holding call against him. I think we forced some things. I thought Gabe Akis was pretty good. I saw a lot of things there that the team looked like the team that we've seen last year in the second half of 2021. And so when you look at what our schedule is presenting going forward, we don't have really a lot of those mobile quarterbacks that are going to run a lot of read option stuff that put us in this kind of read and react style defense. So I think it does bode well for the season moving forward. So if we're going to talk about the good, it was absolutely the defense and the things that they did. Now, granted, like I said, they gave up 30 points. Could have done some things better, but it's a very good, very talented Penn State offense. Very good offensive line, lots of weapons. Other things are good, in my opinion. I thought Reggie Love played pretty well. I thought he did some nice things in the ball game on the offensive side of the ball. I thought the offensive line revamped, played better. I thought they looked better. Chrysler moving back to a more natural position, playing guard going forward, can help this team. And we got rotational depth there with Slaughter's been around the program for a long time there. I thought some unsung guys that played well on the good side, right? I thought Henry Boyer was really good in the time that he was in. He blocked really well. I thought Tip Ryman made a couple nice plays. Really was physical when he caught the ball and turned upfield, which I love that style of football. And then I think Caden Fagan showed well in his few touches. He ran really hard, and he ran like a 250-pound back, which we'll talk about a little bit later, what a 250-pound back should run like, because somebody else didn't do that and hasn't yet to do that this season. I'm very concerned about that going forward. Hugh Robertson didn't hurt us, made some decent punts there. That's about the lone highlight on special teams. So, it was a game, like you said, I said at the beginning, we needed to be perfect to win the ball game. We were far from perfect with 5 turnovers, some special teams miscues. And then when we had some opportunities, some tip balls and things that went in the air last year, when some of those bounces went our way, they just didn't on Saturday. And I think that'll come around. We're negative in the turnover battle this year by a significant margin. And we got a get right game against FAU, and we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But the good for me was really the defense and most notably Johnny Newton.
Yeah, and so one name that we'd mentioned several times about where was he? Seth Coleman showed up against Penn State. Yeah. Seth Coleman, he put a lot of pressure. He made some really good initial, pushing ball carriers inside to help, or Newton or Randolph can clean it up. The pressure though he put on Aller at times too, getting in his face, making him force throws. He was active, and like you're seeing him flying all over. He had a really good pass defense in the end zone that broke up a touchdown. It was the little
ball. It was a great play. Yep.
That was a hell of a play. Even though it was looked like it should have been a catch, he was all over the guy and had his hand in there as well. So I think Seth Coleman graded out well on player. I think he was a top 5 on PFF. He was like 73rd, 70. Yeah. He ranked 73 on there. So that was great to see. I think it was a good Malik Elzy getting to come in there and catch a touchdown, to get some confidence rolling in him and get some good momentum and good vibes for him. Getting to see James Kreutz in there flying around.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had talked about that. Like, is James Kreutz going to get to play? Because we need linebackers who can fly around. And no offense to Dylan Rosiak, but I just don't feel like he's a guy he just doesn't do it for me right now. Maybe it's just because he's young, but like he had a complete whiff on a tackle for loss that would have been a huge stop. And he, the play I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just completely whiffed on the running back, just couldn't get him down, and he goes off for like a 20-yard run and puts him down around the red zone, and that would have set up like a 3rd and 12. You just can't do that. You just can't. So, if you can't cover, if you can't tackle, and you're not quick, then you really don't need to be playing, in my opinion. So, but if that's all there was, if that's all you got, then I get it. But to me, what's that say about Antoine Hayden then? You know what I mean? What did that say about James Kreutz? Like, if Dylan Rosiak's the best they have there, then I'm very concerned. And I feel like,
well, those guys, Rosiak's been in the program a little bit longer. There's certain things that I think that those guys probably display a little bit better than Rosiak. But it's being in the right place at the right time, not making mistakes, understanding coverages, understanding defensive calls.
Yeah,
he's ahead of the game there.
Maybe, but he just physically can't get to those spots though.
Yeah, what you might see a change as the season goes on. Is kind of what I'm getting at there.
To finish up the good though, I think the offensive line did a decent job with the running lanes for the backs. Like, that's the only thing good I'm going to say about the O-line, really. But I felt like there was lanes there, Kev, to run, and they just gave up on it. And so we're going to roll into the bad next, and then we have plenty of ugly to get to. So the bad, Kev, because I'm not going to say Barry Lunny was ugly yesterday, but I don't think he was good. So if Barry Lunny's play calling wasn't good, then I'm going to put it in the bad. I felt like it was very plain, very scripted. Like, here, let me give you an example. And it shouldn't be scripted like almost halftime. So here's an example. Josh McCray on on the fumble where Isaiah Adams got blown up and McCray couldn't even get 2 yards out of the backfield. They ran that play 2 plays earlier, and it didn't work then either. They just actually got a personal foul called on them for that. Something happened in that. But
that's right. Yep. 51. Yep.
Yeah. So Lunny, I guess, thought that since it didn't work the time before, that it would work the next time. But and guess what? It didn't work. Earlier in the game, tight end action was working really well. Loved it. Loved the play action, right? Getting Ryman involved was looking good, right? Where'd that go? It was a 9-point game for a good chunk of it, and it just disappeared. And so I'm not sitting here. And here's another one. I literally tweeted a couple times, and it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be just me at home when I'm tweeting this. I was trying to be sarcastic, like there's no way he's going to do it. But I was like, there's no way that you should be calling, let's just run the ball twice and then roll out Luke Altmaier on 3rd and long because you're running the same predictable plays. So there's so many ways you can get the running backs involved in a running scheme, but to do the same ones over and over again. So guess what? Little Reggie Love, let's do the side thing where, instead of actually hitting a hole, they run sideways for 3 yards. Then they hit, okay, loss of 1, whatever. Okay, let's do another one. This to the right. Then it's 3rd and 8. Home and finish, Kev. There's 3rd and 8. Okay. Wow, he did exactly what I tweeted. Okay, now let's roll Altmaier out. And then he can't get enough on it to Brian over there and it hits the turf. And I'm just like, that's the type of crap that he was calling for about 2-3 quarters. And I get Altmaier was making some bad throws, but a guy at home shouldn't be able to tweet what's about to happen. And he did not. Also, Kev, one other thing. You shouldn't be up 9 as the number 7 team in the country, and you're bringing out trickeration. You're bringing out trick plays to score. But the team who's down by 9, who should want it more than you, doesn't. There's not. What trick play did you see? What spicy play did you see from us? I would have loved to seen something, Kevin. Nothing.
Yeah, I fail to understand why we haven't done it much at all, but Ashton Hollins was a quarterback and Isaiah Williams was a quarterback, and I know we tried a little bit of that last year and it didn't work so well. I don't know if they put much effort or work into that during the week of doing some of that trick play stuff, but I would like to see some of that. And I do think, I think the offensive play calling and the offensive personnel in those play callings left a little bit to be desired. And what I want to get at here is the Altmaier interception on the ball to Casey Washington. And I'm a huge Casey Washington fan. I think the guy blocks his tail off. He makes tough catches. He makes tough plays. He's shown some decent ability to run after the catch. It was a great move that he had on that play where he got down to the red zone that led to Reggie's touchdown.
Oh yeah, yep.
But he's not the vertical guy. Why are we running him on a 9 route? If you want to run a 9 route, we've got guys with his height and with more speed. And I would like to see Elgin.
Because it worked against Toledo, so that's what Barry Lunny thinks. But this isn't Toledo.
No, this is Penn State. You've got to get the guys who are in the 4.5s and 4.4 speed range. Who, if you're going to run that vertical route, and you got one-on-one coverage, have somebody who can beat them. And it's really not Casey Washington's forte. And we'll get into ugly. It was a bad throw. But I mean, there's some things that I think that we saw, though. We saw what Kenari Wilcher can do with the ball in his hands. There was a lot of guys who caught balls who saw their first participation in this game. Ashton Hollins got his first catch of the year. Aiden Lawfrey got his first catch of the year. There was guys who Boyer got his first catch. I did like seeing that aspect of us getting some other guys involved. Granted, it was late, but you could see that. Elsie's adjustment to make that touchdown catch was amazing. And I think I really would like I said, this is the epitome of a get-right game, and we'll get into it a little bit later about FAU. But I would really like to see some of those guys get some opportunities, get some runs, see if we can get Sean Miller out there and see what he can do. I'd like to see 2, 6, and 8 get some more time at receiver, and that's Elsie, Hollins, and Sean Miller. I think we might.
Ashton had a big play. Big
it was a nice play there. It was a nice got the wheel route going. And
thoughts on just forgetting all about Ryman for majority of the game after
I don't get it. I don't. It's the same thing we did against Toledo. He came out, we got him early, and then he got a holding penalty, and I don't know if that put him in the doghouse. He didn't get to touch the ball, but then again, McCray fumbled and he didn't get to go to the doghouse. He was in there the next series, so it's I don't know. It's interesting to me. I think that, and then here on the play calling side, and we can wrap up the bad side here. The play calling side, our leading rusher coming into the game was Luke Altmaier. There was I don't know if this is on Luke or what, but there were a couple where he left the ball in the belly of the back and then pulled out and left the ball with the back, and there was nobody paying attention to him. Now, I don't know if they were wanting to protect him because they weren't sure what they had in Paddock. We could go to Paddock could fit in all three of these, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It depends on which snap he was taking, because the ugly was his first 3 or 4 snaps. The bad was his next 3 or 4 snaps, and the good was his last 10. But his first 3 or 4 snaps, he looked like the worst quarterback I've ever seen. I didn't understand how that guy belonged in Division I football, and that's John Wright Sr.'s grandson. I'm pulling for him. There's Illinois ties through and through with that guy. But maybe what we did see once he got a little bit comfortable, he developed a rhythm. And I know Penn State was in some junk defenses, but maybe that's going to give.
It was also their second and third string guys out there.
That's what I'm saying. But can we also talk about the bad? Is why Johnny Newton got dinged up late in the game. Why is he in the ball game when the game's over? There was some.
I was worried for a minute. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here?
But I would like to. I mean, hopefully there's some faith and confidence. Maybe now that Paddock is not Art Sikowski, and that we can still run Altmaier, and you still have to run your offense and do your things. And Altmaier's a threat with his legs, and we didn't do that on Saturday. We didn't do it early. It holds defenders. It opens up running lanes. But Reggie Love should have been in the good, man. I thought he performed really well. Yeah,
Reggie Love was in the good. You brought him up, but I'm saying is they didn't. They
didn't give the ball enough. We don't run the ball enough.
Yeah, he quit running Reggie Love, and it was like, let's focus more on McCray here for a minute. And I'm thinking, and let me just be honest, it's okay to add Josh McCray into ugly if you want. I mean,
bad.
Yeah,
he got 4 carries, -2 yards, and a fumble lost. And I don't know if he's right mentally after the injury. It was bad.
Yeah, he's been injured a lot, and I can tell you this. So ugly. I'll go ahead and hit it. Luke Altmaier, while I think, I'm gonna be honest, he's a man of faith. He's a humble young man. He's a tough kid. I really don't think that this is going to mentally keep him restrained the rest of the year. I don't think the staff or the team was going to hold him to that standard and just make him feel less than, because we know what's in there. We know he's got a beautiful ball to the sideline for the most part. He's thrown some beautiful. Look, remember the ball he threw against Toledo? Let's not forget it. It was a beautiful guy in his face. I think those slants, those 10 to 15 yard slants.
Oh, beautiful throws.
Yeah, he hits those, and those aren't just bang bang easy throws. I mean, especially when you got people in your face. Those all day to Pat Bryant. I mean, he can make good throws. I think the moment was big. I think the fact you had all Big Ten guys all over and around, the offensive line, let's be honest, wasn't giving him tons of time to throw either.
No, it's a really good defensive line they were going against, but I thought they were better against the pressure than they were against Kansas.
Yeah. They were. I know this. I'd say the 4th pick was maybe the worst.
Oh,
I mean, just no way you can throw that.
Well, the other problem is it's not going to be a first down anyway. It's 5 yards short of the sticks. Throw the ball out of bounds. I mean, it was terrible.
Just rewatching the game, me and a couple other buddies, we were talking about it. He didn't even see. He couldn't see over the line to see on the first pick that was over the middle.
Bill Carter pick.
Yeah, he couldn't even see over the lineman over that, because that was where the 6'5", 6'6" guys were. He's 6'1", maybe. Luke Altmaier, and there ain't no way he saw him there, because he was literally blended behind the lineman. He saw this guy running open, and he's trying to lead him, which I get, but you can't assume there's no one there.
Well, the thing, and Carter showed blitz was over the center and then dropped into coverage there. I'm with you on Altmaier here. It was an ugly performance from him, by far and away his worst as an Illini. It's 6 interceptions in the last 2 games. I honestly have no problems with the picks that he threw against Kansas. I think the ball he threw against Toledo was a terrible throw. And then, I mean, I get it. Sometimes defenses get confusion and you're going to make some bad throws, but the 3rd and 4th interception were just terrible throws. They were really bad throws.
The second one, I think the guy just made a hell of a play on it.
Yeah, he did, and I would have liked to see
Casey Washington. Yeah,
didn't DB a little bit more there.
Yeah, I think I tweeted this to see, and I almost feel bad because it's like not their job. But really, as a wide receiver, your job is to catch the ball, even if it's not a great throw. You have to go fight the guy for it. He just literally just got bodied.
Yeah,
just let the dude take it.
You hear it all the time in the NFL games where they're like, "Oh, the wide receiver turned DB there," and that's kind of where he needed to go there. I want to say something that was pretty ugly about on Saturday that I think maybe is getting overlooked is that Caleb Griffin was bad, and I hate saying this about my Danville dude, and I met him in Arizona at the golf tournament. It was a bad performance by Caleb Griffin. A missed field goal and then some awful kickoffs. And what I mean by awful kickoffs, my buddy's texting me, he's like, our kick coverage is bad. Well, yeah, our kick coverage is bad when the ball gets no height and it's a low line drive kick. It doesn't allow us to get our defenders down the field, right? We had they always used to put the hang time stat on punts. There's literally no hang time on his kickoffs. I don't know what was going on with him on Saturday, but that was bad. It was not a good performance by him.
And the missed 47-yarder, while that's a tough kick,
didn't even flirt with it.
No, but you got to make that. You can't have a big drive like that in a big moment.
You can miss that, but that ball had no. I mean, you got to give it a chance. That ball was never in the uprights. It was never between the uprights.
Yeah,
for 1 second was that ball between.
And that really set the tone kind of for what was to come. It was like you saw what could have been, but then the finish was, it just wasn't there. I've been hearing that Alano might be taking over kickoffs for sure. I'm hearing that. So because. Let's look at the Penn State kicker, the 6'7", 280-pounder.
He's like a defensive end.
The dude was kicking the ball like through the uprights from the 30. So, like just making sure Illinois couldn't get any returns. So that was.
It goes to the first part of this is that we needed to play mistake-free football and we didn't. We had some stupid penalties again that bit us, and those are the type of things you can't give up field positions to a team like Penn State because you can't appropriately kick a kickoff up in the air, and especially in this day and age where where kickoff returns are fewer and fewer. Like Aiden Lawfrey, like good gracious, dude, what are you doing returning a couple of those? Just throw your arms out to the side, take the ball 25-yard line, call it a day. Like there's things about this game that you got to do that, and I'm just we didn't do it. We didn't play the mistake-free game that we needed to play. We almost played a mistake-free game against Michigan last year, and that's the reason why we almost won that game. That was kind of the performance we needed on Saturday. We didn't have it. It's over. We're moving on. And I think dude, I've got a couple key things on FAU I want to share here, but I do believe this is a get-right game for us.
100. And I would say really, I don't know how much more ugly we can talk about that besides the turnovers and the special teams, the kicking, the kickoffs. I would say I guess I should say there was some ugly on the offensive line, necessarily. At times it was ugly. But other than that, and that's one thing that, I know Brett Bielema, that drives him nuts because at heart, that's his thing. So I think
here's an ugly in a sad way. Is Matt Bailey Bailey the next Mike Dudek, Mike Epstein? I don't want to put Bobby in that category.
I'm glad you said that because I wanted to bring that up too. Is that I've heard that it's not good news on that of like anything soon. If it's not a season-ending injury, it sounds like
his foot again.
No, his arm.
Shoulder.
Making
a stick. He got in there and made
how effective and how special is he though? Like
you could just 10 snaps and had 5 tackles or something.
Yeah, you could see that like the effect that he has on a game, and Brett finally came out and told the Fox crew that, he just makes our defense better. Like he adds, he's like a coach out there. It's just sad too. He's just flying around. He hurt himself. But yeah, it was the same arm that he took himself out in the first play of the game, and then he came back like 2 series later, and he played 2 more series. He hurt it even worse. So I'm not saying it was broken. It could have been a rotator cuff. I don't know, but I just was told they'll know more Tuesday. Like so tomorrow at Bielema's presser, you're going to hear him say something like, "Well, he's getting an MRI, but we're not sure yet." But he might even say it doesn't look good, but I don't know. But I've just heard that I'm not expecting him playing this week or even next. So
yeah, it's one of those things. Like I had a bad sports weekend. I mean, it's just all the way.
I know. And then the Cubbies are now they lost their second wild card spot, right? Because they're stinking it up. Yeah. And then Justin, you've officially given up on Justin Fields, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I don't know if it's his fault, but I don't know if it's because the pressure that he sustained early in his career has just made it so that he can't make any progressions. He holds onto the ball too long. He was sacked 6 times today. I mean, I imagine 4 of those were because he just holds onto the ball too long. Tries to make and he just misses reads and misses open receivers, and he's not accurate. And he's not the
guy. Yep, and
but I was getting to my point. I had a bad sports weekend. Matt Bailey's out for the season. That's the worst news of the weekend. So.
Well, I haven't told you that yet. I just know that I wouldn't expect him anytime in the next couple of weeks. So let's get to it. FAU preview. I actually watched the game on the ACC Network, a good chunk of it. I'm not sure if Casey Thompson will be the quarterback. He got injured against Clemson.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he got injured against Clemson, which means they've got one guy that looks like a linebacker who wears gloves. I'm not sure what his last name is. I swear he's like 6'2", 245, and he was their backup. And he just loved to sling that thing. He was just throwing it all over picks, and he threw a couple big plays. But they were also down 41-0 when he was doing it. And then their other backup that they actually scored touchdowns with on the goal line. He's literally like a Jeff Sims, but just a Jeff Sims type. He's just a big guy that runs the ball. He don't throw it very much. So obviously a Jeff Sims B-rated version. But, so they lost. They're 1-2. And let me just go ahead and tell you, while they lost 17-10 to a very good Ohio team,
who beat Iowa State.
I think Iowa State's just not very good, though, to be honest. I think that's becoming more and more apparent. I think Iowa State's just not that good this year.
Right.
And that's still, though, they beat a Power 5 Big 12 team. Ohio did. So everybody's slouching on, Illinois beat Toledo. Okay, well, there's some good teams in the MAC. And Ohio, I think, is going to be giving Toledo a run for their money this year. But so FAU lost to Ohio 17-10. What that shows me is, though, that they don't really have much offense. This team's just not. It's time for our defense to kind of just sink their teeth in next week, and like I said, time to get right, Kev.
Yeah, they've got a guy, LeJonte Wester, who's their receiver, who was their best offensive player against Clemson. I watched a little bit of that game as well. But Casey Thompson went out, had a knee injury. He wasn't playing well before that, had 2 picks, 1 for a pick 6. The Daniel Richardson's the quarterback you're talking about, and he's listed at 5'10", 205, but you're right, he's built more like a linebacker. I think those numbers are a little bit off there. But the other aspect of it is they lost their starting running back, Larry McCollum. I don't know if that's actually accurate. His last name, but he had a big game to start the season, 125 yards, and then he had 50-something against Ohio. He was hurt in that game. I don't think he'll be back against us. So they're missing their probably 2 top offensive players outside of Wester in Thompson and Larry M. It's one of those things that it's a get right game. It's one of those things like we come out here a little bit pissed off and exert our will on a team that we're better than, get some guys in the game like I talked about, and kick their ass and move on to Purdue the following week. So I think there's some things that we can do this week that I think we'll be singing a far different tune next Sunday night.
Yeah, I think Also, in the fall, this is where Illinois' got a 3-game stretch here. They'll be favored in all 3, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a close at West Lafayette. They might be like a 1-2 point, whatever.
Yeah, be a pick and something like that.
Yeah, but there's no way. I think Wisconsin's going to go in there and beat Purdue on Friday. But Purdue has no defense at all. They don't play defense. Garrett Schrader has showed you what Illinois, Luke Altmaier can do.
Yeah.
Read option. Anyway, Barry Lunny. But for the FAU, we can add, and this is what I'm wanting to get to with this, is Illinois should be able to pound the ball against FAU. There's no way in heck Illinois shouldn't be able to get Reggie Love carries, try to get Josh McCray involved more, and if he can't get it done, I'd like to see more and more Caden Fagan personally.
Yeah.
I think it's time, more Caden Fagan. And the only thing about Lawfrey, and I've had 2 people make mention of this to me, maybe it's because he's young still and he's got when he's running, it's like he just runs a straight line.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have there's no moves of like trying to get around you. It's like almost like if you're playing Madden and you just let your controller go. It's like, yeah, he's quick, but it's just straight line. So but Fagan is tougher to bring down, and it looks like he was shifty in the hole. He can get through it. And when he falls forward, he's falling forward 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah.
So he's going to get you 4 yards almost every carry, it looks like. Almost every carry, at least 3 to 4. And if he gets any kind of room, he's going to get you 5. So I'm excited about that. But I'm thinking more Elzy.
Yes, got to have more Elzy.
More Elzy, more Fagan, more James Kreutz. Get more of these guys involved. And guess what? I forgot Hunter Whitenack. He looked good. Hunter Whitenack had to play a few snaps in there. And even Brett Bielema praised him. So it's okay to bring in. I'm shocked Brandon Henderson hasn't really been in there or played more. So why not get some of these guys some meaningful snaps, meaningful minutes? Because we already know these guys are going to get up for Ryan Walters and Purdue the next week. If you don't think that these guys are going to get up to go play at Purdue the next week, they will be. They will be ready. And then that sets up Nebraska at home. There's a 3-game stretch why I don't know why we shouldn't win. So it starts with FAU.
Yeah, I agree. And what I think FAU I think has a pretty decent defense. I mean, granted, Clemson hung 48 on them, and that's not a very good. This isn't your older brother's Clemson team. This is not. They're not quite the same. But they did get a defensive score and force some turnovers there. If our defense does that, I can see us putting up some good points on them. I think we'll come out of this FAU game. I'm looking at something like 38-10. I think Illinois covers. I think covers easily a little bit. Hey, SDR, appreciate you, man. Talking about we have no offensive line whatsoever. I disagree. Reggie Love is averaging over 5 yards a carry for a reason, right? Like there's, we made now. Granted, Zy Chrysler at right tackle was not the answer. He looked a little bit like a turnstile over there, but he's moving inside now, and that's really helping. And I heard so many of these things too. We got SDR chairman in there as well. He's like, I think this is a 5-win team. I don't see it, and Ryan just broke it down. Why? You get right against Florida Atlantic. You fix some of the little things. I think Luke Altmaier is more like the guy we saw in the first 2 games. He's not going to face a defense like that again until we play Iowa and Minnesota. Like those are the next 2 best defensive teams that will play. And they still don't have the NFL talent on that side of the ball like Penn State does. So get right with Florida Atlantic. You go to 2 and 3, just like you said. Then you get Purdue. You kind of actually want Wisconsin to beat Purdue. I'd like to just kind of like take the buzz from their fans away. I'd like to make that game in West Lafayette an 11 a.m. kickoff. And it's
not going to be an 11 a.m. It's the Saturday night NBC game.
Oh, I was just looking on the schedule and said TBD. I did think that. Okay, so that's official.
Yeah, I mean, I could at the beginning of the year.
That's what NBC, I thought too.
At the beginning of the year, NBC announced their games, and basically it's the night. It's the game of the week because of the Walters Bielema situation.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't like that necessarily. It doesn't bode as well for us, but
it's a night game. But I mean, here's the thing: if our guys can't get up for that, what can they get up for? You know.
I easily think this team could be 4-2, and then you're not saying that this team is a 5-win team if we're 4-2.
because they got Indiana and
Northwestern left on the schedule.
Yeah,
right?
it's not a 5-win team. Also, Maryland. You think anybody thinks Maryland's look good? I mean,
They looked really good in the second half, and they covered the spread and the over parlayed by me.
That's great. I'm glad they did that. But that's okay. Let's talk about the team. They're awful, Kev. Okay, they're awful, and they had a true freshman quarterback. And it doesn't matter that eventually they took over. That's one half of terrible ball that you're not going to have. That Illinois' defense, I would say, compared to Virginia's defense, not any comparison. But while I'm not saying I'm picking Illinois to beat Maryland, that's a winnable game, though. I think it's a lot more winnable than we were talking about, I think, a month ago. You've seen them get off to really bad starts against Charlotte and Virginia, and those are not good teams.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to get into like the transitive property thing either. I mean, and that's our guy to SDR just keeps chiming in, and I want to acknowledge him here. Like I watched the Nevada Kansas game too, and I was like, so disappointed. But there's things that happen there. Is I'm pretty sure that game was at Nevada, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. It was in Reno, which is a little weird. So that was a little bit of a hype game for them. They're getting a Power 5 team at home.
Yeah,
don't get a lot of those. Kansas was hyped up to play us on a Friday night, had an extra day. And listen, I don't think that our defense right now is really built well to handle that style of quarterback play. We don't see that in the Big Ten West. You see that all the time in the Western Athletic Conference or whatever conference it's the Mountain West or Nevada. So I also think Kansas had a high. They just beat us. They're feeling themselves. I talk about it on Fade the Deuce all the time. That's why I called Wyoming, Texas first half. I told you what was going to happen. That game was a 10-10 game. In the third quarter, at the end of going in the fourth quarter, teams feel themselves and then they get all hyped up about them. I mean, I think we had that against Toledo. I think we were feeling ourselves coming into Toledo and we crapped the bed. I think the defense you saw Saturday is the defense you will see for this team going forward. And it was a really good defensive performance despite 30 points. Also,
look how many plays just undisciplined baloney Kansas gave Nevada last night. I was watching that and like Lance Leipold was blowing his stack because they're not an undisciplined team, and they were making. I think they had like 4 personal fouls or something.
Yeah,
they gave Nevada like 2 or 3 extra drives and a couple scores, and they also Nevada fumbled 5 times, and guess what? Recovered all 5. Like, come on now, you don't think there's any luck in some of these games?
That's a turnover fairy, man, especially fumbles, right? And fumbles are recovered about 50% of the time, and if you're getting 100%, that's a little ridiculous when it's 5 of them.
And it was 5, and one of them it looked like Kansas was going to set up another touchdown. Nope, the Kansas player was out of bounds, so Nevada got the ball back again and they had a chance on 4th down. Also, Jason makes a great point here. Kansas had a couple starters out from their targeting against Illinois. At the beginning of the game. So that first half, they had a couple of defensive starters out, I think. Now, anyway.
Yeah, I get I've heard this too. It's like, we're one play away. If Casey Washington doesn't catch that ball, we're 0-3. Well, if your aunt had ball, should be your uncle. Like, you play to win the game. Guys make plays. If you could if, ands, and buts every freaking game there is.
Yeah.
If we make the field goal, maybe if Penn State doesn't wear white, whatever, you could call it whatever you want. There's always ifs, ands, and buts in a football game. You play to win the game. You find ways to win the game. Maybe we won a game we shouldn't. I'm moving us along, and I do think we're going to right the ship. This is going to be a get right game. We could possibly win. We should win the next 3, and then that sets up Wisconsin at home, right?
No, it's
Maryland,
then Wisconsin at home for homecoming.
So there's a stretch of winnable football games here. Wisconsin's not world beaters. I still have a very good prognostication on where this season's going to go. I think it's going to be a bowl season. Do I think it's 10 wins? I mean, come on. I mean, maybe with a bowl win. Maybe.
I know a guy that predicted 10, but it's okay. I mean,
hey, and frankly, I didn't. I've been meaning to write this article, and I was going to write it right after the Toledo game. I'm sorry, but I have a life and I'm busy. But I walked into the Toledo game. I think we all did this, and we had perceived strengths of this football team. We thought the offensive line would be a perceived strength. We thought our defense, especially our defensive front, our front seven, would be a perceived strength. It just hasn't been there yet. And so there's so much aspects, and we played a really, really tough schedule to start the season.
That's another thing, Kev. Anybody who's following me on Twitter has seen me every week saying this, but people are just like, okay, let me break it down to a degree. Forget transitive properties, blah, 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 whatever. San Jose State is a quality team. Okay, I just want to say this.
Yeah.
They played at USC, put up 28, hung in there into the fourth quarter with them. A very, very good Oregon State team. They lost by 25 to Oregon State, but it was a 2-score game for quite a bit of it. Then they, clobber whoever they played in week 3. And then they go to Toledo, and Toledo beats San Jose State, even though it was a close game. Toledo had a chance to make it a 2-score game and win by 11, but they had some key a turnover, a personal foul. I actually watched that on ESPN Plus. I was like, let me see how good Toledo really is.
And they ran the ball at will.
Toledo looks like that 10-win team I was telling everybody about. Right. So, again, Toledo's going to probably win the MAC and have at least 10 wins. They're a good team. So then what do you get the next week? You get a dynamic, Big 10, Big 12 player of the year, Jalen Daniels. That's who you get to week 2, and they looked the part. Who do you get week 3? You get a top team, 7 team, who's either going to probably play in the college football playoff or still play in a New Year's Six bowl. So Illinois has played the toughest Big 10 schedule so far.
And that's why you call it, Illinois and Purdue. And that's why you call it a get-right game. And Purdue doesn't have one before playing us, right? And so we get a get-right game. And what I mean, there's a lot of things about a get-right game that have happened. Like Seth Coleman doesn't have a sack this year. Gabe Akis doesn't have a sack this year. Like we don't have a lot of picks. We haven't broke off a big offensive 70-yard touchdown run other than Altmaier's. Like there's going to be things that happen against FAU that are going to give guys some confidence and some swag and some belief in themselves that can carry on. And because of our schedule has been such, there hasn't been a lot of that. And I think we'll see that Saturday.
SDR, chill out, drink some purple drink some cognac. I don't care. Do something, man. You need to
right there, but I'm feeling his pain. I was right there with him.
A 5-win season. Listen, I picked 9, but I still think 8-4 is very possible. I still think 8-4 is very possible, and I think the winner of the West is going to have 3 losses. Okay.
I still think we can win the Big Ten West. I think we'll know a lot more about maybe who Iowa is after they play Penn State on Saturday. I don't know the time of that game yet. We don't.
Yeah, so they don't have much of the time set. Once you get to Maryland, there's no really time set.
Okay.
So it's all TBD. And Jason Ron did say that Keith Randolph hurt his shin a little bit so his shin's bruised. He's got a bruised shin, so he needs to rest that up a little bit.
Well, he can rest that this week.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Like if I were to break down just the pure stats of the game until I got to one stat, you'd be like, wait a second, this was a 17-point game. First downs, advantage Illinois, 20 to 19. Third down efficiency, Penn State was 7 of 18. That's a decent third down efficiency for the defense. Illinois was 6 of 16. We're 1-1 with fourth down. 383 yards to 354. 219 to 292 in passing. We averaged 6.6 yards a pass. They averaged 5.9. Rushing is where we're a little bit off here. We only had 2.1, but that's a lot because of the sacks. Because the running backs who actually carried the ball were above 4 yards a carry, with the exception of Josh McCray. So that's the one stat you look at this, but you look at those stats in a outside of turnovers, and you'd be like, oh man, this is probably a competitive game.
Yeah,
it wasn't because of turnovers, and I think Altmaier can fix that. I really believe that. We fix that, we'll be fine.
By the way, you said something earlier. Penn State scored 20 points off our turnovers.
Yeah, and I want to directly credit like somewhere around 10 to 14 to the offense there, because there was some. It's my guy Stuckey. He calls it an arm punt. Arm punts are, that's where you throw a long interception that puts it. If the other team gets the ball on their 35-yard line, you're not really accrediting points. But it kept our defense on the field forever. That was the problem too.
And another thing that I count, though, that it matters to me in that situation, it could be considered an arm punt, but also, did it take points off the board for us?
Potentially.
Yeah, because, a couple of those, Illinois one of them was at midfield, but there was one, the one that really hurt
was McCray's fumble.
McCray's fumble. No, not just that one. 16-7. Remember, we had a really good shoulder throw from Altmaier. We're inside the red zone. He threw another pick.
Yep.
On that, it was inside the 10. That's the brutal one because
and we didn't make the tackle on the guy, and he ran it 30 yards back.
Yeah, and Casey Washington looked like he'd never tackled anybody in his life, which probably hadn't. But still, you get points there. Even a field goal, it's 16-10. You feel pretty good. You get a touchdown, you're feeling really good. But that interception was just deflating. And to me, while it may not be counted as points against, think about that. That's a big swing right there.
Yeah, we're at the 25-yard line. He had just hit that back shoulder throw to Isaiah Williams to get it down to the 25-yard line. It's 16-7 midway through the third quarter. Absolutely. Now thank God our defense came in, forced the 3 and out, but then we went 3 and out as well. But yeah, you're right. You find a way to get in the end zone there or kick a field goal. It's 16-10. It changes the whole dynamic of the football game. That play killed us.
Yeah, that's the one that really hurt the most because I'm like, I think we might do it.
Terrible throw.
Yeah, and that's the one I was just thinking. Casey Washington on 2 of those balls just got out-wanted for it, and I know the defender had better position, but at that point, it's not about trying to make the catch, man. You just knock it down, do something. But Jason makes a really good point. He was at the game. It was hot, and no defense can maintain being on the field that much, and not wear down. And Joel Klatt was talking about that on the telecast about how Nebraska had that similar situation against Colorado the week before, where they were doing really good against, Shadur Sanders, but eventually when their offense was doing nothing, they're out there for drives of 6, 8, 10, even if they're giving up field goals, 6, 8, 10, 10, 10. And then your offense 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, or turnover, fumble after 2 plays. You're going to be done by the end of that third quarter, and that's really what happened to Illinois.
Yeah, and I was thinking about Purdue, and SDR's, he's worried about. He says, feeling better about possibly if we can win the next 2 games. Purdue's not a bad team in the Walters factor. I think the Walters factor plays in our behalf here. Granted, Walters does know what Lunny wants to do. Lunny knows what Walters wants to do, but the guys on the field. Like, there's not guys at Purdue that are mad at Illinois because Ryan Walters went there. There are guys on our team that are pissed off that Ryan Walters left.
They know his system. They know his scheme. He recruited them. And there's a lot more for Illini players to be playing to win and get that dub.
And I look at this, and maybe Purdue did have their get-right game. Maybe Vatek, who got smacked by Rutgers. Maybe Vatek was a get-right game. But
that's why when you said they've actually had a –
they played Fresno State, Vatek, and Fresno State's. Could play in a Power 5 conference. That's a competitive football team.
Like I said though, like that team's not the same without Jake Haener. They're okay. They're an okay team this year. But
smacked Arizona State the other night.
Yeah, Arizona. Okay, I guess look at how good Arizona State is, but like apples to apples. Anyway, Vatek is not good. Okay.
So maybe that was Purdue's get-right game was Vatek. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. So unless Rutgers just got much better all of a sudden, they beat up Virginia Tech worse than they did Northwestern, if that tells you how good Virginia Tech is. So.
Well, we get FAU and they get Wisconsin before we play each other. I like that. I like that advantage for us. So
no doubt. And with that, I think this is a perfect week for Luke Altmaier to rest on, get back to what he does. Run that read option. I think just hit the open receivers. Don't do too much. Get yourself right for Purdue. It's gonna be a night game on NBC. They're gonna have some Lookahead. Well, we can't lose all the important national TV games, can we?
No.
We're due for one. Again, like Jason said, I've watched Purdue purposely all their games. They have troubles with penalties, and they tackle about it worse than we do. And they don't know how to stop a running quarterback. So I think that might be the most pathetic performance of a defense I've ever seen on read options and all this trickeration. Garrett Schrader twice completely faked out the entire defense. They didn't even know he had the ball. Hell, one of them he could have ran 70 yards for a touchdown, but he pitied him, and he literally fell over at the 30 just so they could run the clock out. So if that's ever happening to Illinois' defense, I'm gonna be worried.
Yeah.
So with that said, the offense has stopped going. Okay. All right. Now with that said, Kev, any more football topic you want to discuss before we talk a little, Mikey Lewis visiting? Because I think that's a big one.
No, I'm good.
All right. I'll go off what I've heard. I want you to give me a little what you've heard or seen or whatever on Mikey Lewis. So his official visit was this weekend. And obviously, it went well. But what I heard specifically about Mikey Lewis is that I know the staff's excited. I think they've done everything they needed to do this weekend to show him that that's the place for him to be. I think they expect him to go to LSU, but it looks like LSU is the main competition. He may go to Ole Miss, but I know the staff was wanting a commitment this weekend, thought they might be able to get it. But the fact that Mikey Lewis had an assistant coach who went to the G League, who was at LSU, that was a big reason that I think Illinois is in the lead or likely going to land him. I think LSU would have been a favorite, but there was some transition from the staff at LSU. Mikey Lewis led the EYBL in scoring. I think, and from everything I've heard, I think the staff's really happy with how the official visit went.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I've read up has been the same. Obviously, I'm football. When the football, I've talked about this. I mean, I find the recruiting stuff fascinating, but I'm a between the lines guy. But the stuff, especially in season, it's kind of hard for me to concentrate on what's going on outside there. I'm a little bit bullish on potentially getting a Mikey Lewis commitment there. And from what I understand, is that we're also hot and heavy recruiting Jeremiah Fears. And it sounds like the families are talking to each other. So there's some similarities in their games, but I do think that Mikey Lewis is more of a 2-1, where Fears is more of a 1-2. And I think they can certainly play together. Fears is a 25 kid who might reclass to 24. They could come in possibly together in 24. But the fact that their families are talking is a really good thing, because there was some concern that the two kids wouldn't commit to the same school. But if they're talking and understanding they can be complementary pieces, they could be D and Darren. I'm not saying they're going to be D and Darren, but if you can go back to the story, is that Darren didn't want to go to a school that already had a point guard, and D was like, dude, I may be built like a point guard, but I'm a 2 guard. You be the one, I'll come and score. And
I get, Kev, it's football prime. I want to talk about that too, but I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the fans and the people watching if I didn't.
He's great. He's a really, really good player. He's worth talking about. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really excited what Staxis can bring, and he's moving on up the ranks. Yeah. But if it was his visit this weekend, we would kind of, I wouldn't say we'd gloss over it, but we certainly wouldn't give it this attention.
No, this is a top 80 kid. He's a game changer as a scoring athlete. He's a
top 50 kid. Yeah. I mean, I think he's a top 50 kid from what I've seen of the highlight videos and what I've seen from his performance. He's not ranked there yet, but I think that
and Jay Beggin, I am not predicting it as of now, but I'm just telling you guys, I think Illinois is in the lead, and I think they have a great shot. And I don't just say that about everybody. I know people gave me crap about Ray J. Dennis, but my goodness, I'm so glad that's over. Is Fears going to reclassify? So Jay Beggin is asking, I know that Underwood has told Fears they'll take him at 24 or 25, that they're okay with either. I know he's a hot priority, and
he shouldn't. I'll say it right now. I don't. The track record for guards, especially small guards that reclass and come in early, have not done well. And he's thin, he's explosive, he's a hell of a ball player. I think he needs another year of seasoning, another year of maturation. I'm trying to remember the kid's name that went to Indiana that was all like 5-star kid that reclassed. It was just a couple of years ago, and then he's flamed out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'm trying to think his last name is Landers, maybe?
Yeah, some of the K Landers.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
He played some like last year or whatever, and was okay, but he hasn't really been anything great. So, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. But I think I got to be honest though. I think
Christian Lander, yeah, he's at Western Kentucky.
Lander,
yeah, he's at Western Kentucky now.
Yeah, he's at Western Kentucky now.
3.2 points per game for Western Kentucky, great.
Yeah, I think Fears is a little bit above that level. I think. I think if he comes in 25, he's going to be a first-round draft pick. If he comes in 24, maybe he won't be right away, but I think he's still going to be by that time. He would have came maybe if he came in the class of 2025. But definitely great news that they're talking. I just know that Underwood has let him know that they're going to take him in either class. It sounds like our guy Ryan Foran of 200 Columns. He's our hoops contributor, recruiting contributor. He speaks to Jeremy Fears Sr. at times, and he told him that it looks like they're going to shoot to be back on campus October 21st, which is homecoming. So Jeremiah Fears was supposed to be here this weekend, but had a big Nike event that he went and participated in. So that's what's up with that. Now, Kev, we've got all that out of the way. Final thoughts. I'll let you start. Anything golf related?
I was gonna go look it up and see if what's our guy Stevie Stricker ended up winning the PGA Champions. I know he was in the lead, but that's not really what I mean. He won. So it's great. Steve Stricker won again. It's just what he does. It's unbelievable. No, it's I think it's okay. This is Illinois football. We played a really tough schedule. We played a good Power 5 team on the road and we lost. We played a top 10 team at home and we lost. We are okay. And we've made some changes. I think that the changes have been good. I think there's been an attacking defense this week against FAU. I certainly hope we don't fall into any kind of trap game stuff looking ahead to Purdue. I don't know how you can look ahead when you're 1-2. The next 3 weeks of the season are really critical. I think Illinois can get back. I think we can be 4-2. Don't jump off the ledge yet. Understand that, and I wrote this in the article to start the season, that this is a very real possibility that we could be 1-2 at this point in time. But this isn't Ron Zook's Illini. This is a team that is well coached, that has a really good locker room. They've got really good team chemistry still. They still love each other. We'll be okay. So just heads up, guys. That's my final thoughts. Is we're gonna be okay. It's still a bowl team in my opinion.
And even though we don't all agree and like, what's going on with some of the play calling in Lunny, this is what I do know. I know that Brett Bielema will not put one coach over the team. If he thinks he needs to make changes at times, he will. He will do what's best to put his players in the right situation, is why you saw the defensive adjustments and offensive line change adjustments that you actually saw this week. You saw Isaiah Adams move from left tackle to right tackle. You saw Geske move from right guard to left guard. And you saw it at times, when Hunter Whitenack came in, when he needed to spell Adams at times, he did. I think he made a good decisions on the switch, which was needed, even though it didn't necessarily work out as well as we wanted. You see, he's not afraid to do things that he needs to do that it just won't work if he doesn't. He knew that right side of the line was not going to work otherwise. There was no way he could piece it together, no other way. He knew that if they kept doing what they did defensively the first two games, even if it was for a mobile quarterback, that when you're putting young players in a zone scheme and they don't have that down right, and they're not going to right away, that you're just hurting yourself. You play zone against Aller, he would have picked you apart.
Yeah.
So you saw Brett Bielema will do what it takes to put his guys in the right situation. So the first chapter of his 4-chapter series of the season, as he explains, 3 games down, He knew how tough they were going to be. 1-2 is what we are, and I say we because we are not like those idiots on X who say you can't say we unless you graduated or whatever. You're a donor anyway. The schedule gets easier, but also the hope of the Big Ten West is just beginning. It's not over because they lost to Penn State. Iowa, guess who they have to play next week?
That's right. Yeah, in Happy Valley.
You're really getting to an even playing field here. Illinois does not play Michigan. They do not play Ohio State. Those other teams that matter in this division, they do. So you pretty much know an L's coming their way no matter what. So really we're in an even playing field if you think about it. So it's up to Illinois to take care of business against the Big Ten West foes. And I believe the defense has shown that they can do that. They're up to the task to put themselves in position to do that. So with that said, proud of the fans that came. I think it was right under 50,000. So we had about 500 to 1,000 more people came to the Penn State game. Keep believing. I know that that it's going to be a little bit less for FAU because there's people that are just upset that it's 1-2.
And it's FAU.
Yeah, but it's FAU. But I think in a few weeks we're going to have a whole lot different tune here. So, so that's my take. That's my final thought. Also, Fade the Deuce 2 nights. Actually, nope, 3 nights. I will be. Hey, Kev, I get to be like you. I'm actually traveling for work this week, so
nice.
I'll be from the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. I'll be doing the show from yeah.
I'll be doing our Sunday night show in Oregon, so yeah, I get it.
Oh wow, really? Are you going to be watching Colorado and Oregon in Eugene Saturday night?
Oh goodness gracious! I wish I could be doing that. I will be officiating my brother-in-law's wedding. So
okay, that will be just as fun though. That'll be just as much fun. But I'm actually proud that you're still going to do the show. When's the wedding?
It's on Saturday.
Okay. All right. So, and if you want to have some special guests, some brother, blah, blah, come on, bring them on, man. I want to hear their take on Illini football.
Yeah, we could do that. And I think we'll for everybody who commented tonight, retweets this stuff, if you're interested in getting some FAU tickets, we should be able to have those on the show. If I got my guy Jeff Dahl to donate those tickets this week, I'll be sure to raffle those off. So appreciate you guys.
Oh yes, we got to do that, Kev. We can't not do that.
Well, I don't know that Jeff's committed to giving. He did say he was going to give them all away, but we'll see. You never know if somebody finds out that he was back for the Penn State game. If he's got friends or family that want to grab those tickets, by all means, he's got the right to give them to who he wants.
We'll work it out. We'll figure out how to get a couple tickets, man. I think we'll get it figured out because I know a couple people who have season tickets who told me they're not going to the FAU game.
Okay,
they've already told me that because they're fed up, and I said, "All right, well, you're going to show them." Okay.
Well, the Heights. I'm speaking of Colorado. They're 20.5-point dog this week. Woo!
I'm sorry, but any team that plays like that against Colorado State and needs literally every bounce to go their way, every break, and you squeak it out against Colorado State, I'm happy that Deion Sanders has turned around Colorado to a degree. I think they're going to be a bowl team, but they're going to be getting hurt and walloped about 3 or 4 games this year. So I think Oregon's going to hurt them bad on Saturday.
Yeah, we could stop acting like the Colorado Buffaloes of 2023 or the Miami Hurricanes in 1989 or 88 or whatever.
And that's not hating either. I want people to know that.
No, I love Deion. Deion. This is premature. The success, the love fest they're getting for their on-field performance is premature. That's it.
Yeah. All right. With that said, we'll see you at Fade the Deuce Wednesday night. Have a good start of your week. Swami out.
ILL.
I and I.